All right, guys, welcome back. This is Kyle with the Fantasy Football Upside. You are here for the last day of the midsummer mock draft week. Today, we're going to do another 12-team standard scoring league. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you get notified when we upload the best fantasy football podcast on the internet. And we're going to dive right into this mock, guys. It's just me tonight. We're going to have Justin back at the beginning of the week next week, but we figured that each of us would let the other one handle one solo mock. So we're seeing what we've got here, guys. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen for you. All right, dive right in here to what we have set up. We've got the 2020 season standard scoring snake draft basic opponent logic there. We're doing 12 team. Let's go ahead and randomize our draft position, see where we are. We're doing fourth. No, let's not. We just did that one yesterday, I think, actually. So here, let's drop a new one, and it's got us at seventh. All right, so standard league settings: 1 QB, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex, and 6 bench spots. We're leaving defense and kicker out because we're going to stream those probably. So we're just going to pick whoever we think has best first 1 or 2 weeks of schedule, and then we'll go from there. All right. And then we've also got the experts as far as who we're drafting against. We're drafting against expert rankings from Fantasy Football Calculator. Fantrax looks like they've added a few extra ones. They've now got ESPN ADP and RT Sports ADP in there as well. They've also got the composite ADP, which is the compiled ADP from all of those, as well as Fantasy Pros ADP. We're going to throw 120 seconds on the clock so we keep this thing moving along, and let's go ahead and start our draft. All right, I'm not going to read every name that gets picked through here. I'm not going to read every NFL player's name, basically, guys. So keep your eyes peeled. We're going to go ahead and get through all of them. All right, what do we got here? Okay, I see that Michael Thomas is already off the board. Let's jump into the draft board here. We've got McCaffrey, Elliott, Saquon. So Elliott jumped ahead of Saquon there. Dalvin Cook in the 4th spot. 5th spot is Derrick Henry. And then Michael Thomas comes out at the 6th. So we're sitting here at 7th, and I think we've got a pretty easy choice, guys. My opinion would be that we need to go after Alvin Kamara here. That's my personal preference here. I'm not as high on Mixon, and if you've been watching for a while, you know I'm not as high on Chubb. I don't think that Tyreek Hill is a first-round talent. Devontae Adams about the only wide receiver that I'd be willing to take in the first round who's not named Michael Thomas. So we're going to go ahead and take Alvin Kamara, and we're going to keep this draft moving here right off the top early. Look, the first few picks that you make are not going to be the complicated picks. It's the picks that are, 4 through 12 that are the tough picks to make. All right, so let's see. We've already lost a few more wide receivers. A ton of wide receivers that ran on there. We've got Tyreek Hill going second wide receiver off the board. Josh Jacobs in the first round. Nick Chubb in the first round as well. Devontae Adams, Julio Jones, Chris Godwin, Joe Mixon, DeAndre Hopkins, Aaron Jones, Mike Evans. That would have been really nice if somebody like Aaron Jones had fallen to me there. But I'm kind of surprised to see Joe Mixon slip into the second round here, while both Jacobs and Chubb are sitting solidly into the first round, guys. That's not the chatter that I'm hearing from a lot of people who are really deep into this right now in this point of the year. As far as the big board ranks, they're talking about tight end, and you know that I'm a late tight end, late QB guy. Some of you might want to reach for those guys. If you're going to reach for anybody, make sure it's a QB. Don't go reaching for a tight end, because those guys, if you compare them to where they would finish if they were just straight up a wide receiver, the best tight ends in the league last year, only I think 2 of them finished as a wide receiver 2, basically. So you're reaching for value there at the second or third round that you could beat by drafting a wide receiver 1 still at that point, which is exactly where we are going here. And we're going to build this team with a little balance right off the top. We're going to go ahead and grab Kenny Golladay, as my brother calls him, Gal. This dude is going to be solid this year, guys. If Stafford is there with him the whole year, oh man, just look out. I'm excited for what he's going to do this year. I think it's going to be great. Let's go ahead and snag him here. All right, and then let's see what comes off the board. We're picking in the middle of each round, so it's about an equal number lost each time. That's the best thing about picking in the middle. There's not much else that is great about it. Look at that. See, right after we pick, both Kelsey and Kittle go off the board, followed by Mahomes in the second round as the first QB, Sanders, Kenyon Drake, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Odell Beckham Jr., Lamar Jackson, Amari Cooper, Melvin Gordon, Austin Eckler, Juju Smith-Schuster. All right. So, look, some people might have thought that, you could go for Juju, Amari, or Odell Beckham. That's a balancing act that you're going to have to figure out for yourself right there. I put Galladay up ahead of those guys. He's just performing at a level right now that's outstanding, just simply outstanding. All right, let's see what they're throwing at us here. What are they saying? They're saying that we should go for A.J. Brown, Allen Robinson, or Todd Gurley. I'm ignoring the Mark Andrews suggestion because I'm just not there for that yet. I do like Gurley this year, and he's one of the last, I guess, guys that I would classify as a potential workhorse. I tend to lean towards the running backs very early, who I believe are going to get a lion's share of the work. As far as Todd Gurley goes, I'm not seeing a whole lot that says to me that he's not going to be on the field for a majority of the time. I think he's going to drag in a whole lot of passes this year. That's an offense that wants to throw a ton. So I really like that as an option here. If we look over at the wide receiver, see what we might be missing out on right now. I don't think we're missing out on a whole lot. There's a whole lot of guys here. There's a few that I don't like, a ton that I do like. And there's a lot of guys that if a few of them get off the board before we get to grab another wide receiver, I feel comfortable having missed them because I think there's a lot of equivalent value there still. And I'm more than comfortable taking any one of them. So I think that what we're going to do here is we're going to grab one of the last guys on running back that we feel really solid about. That's a really good way to figure out how you're going to operate your strategy during the draft. You're going to be there. You're going to be on the clock. You get a little more time than what we're dealing with today, but you're left wondering, okay, what do I have to do here? Well, what you need to guess is you need to know who it is that you're drafting against if you can. If you're drafting in a public league, you obviously don't know. But what you're trying to do is anticipate their needs, anticipate their predilections, what their sort of preferences are, and then you're trying to guess, okay, well, if there's 12 guys here in the same range that I'm comfortable taking, then I'm going to go ahead and take something else that I think is a little more scarce at this point, that the value level is higher here and that there's more available elsewhere. All right, so after Gurley, we lost Fournette, Chris Carson, Adam Thielen, Allen Robinson, A.J. Brown, Mark Andrews, Calvin Ridley, Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf, and Robert Woods. There's a lot of good wide receiver value that we just lost right there, guys. I mean, Calvin Ridley's going to have a great year. A.J. Brown's pretty solid. I like Robert Woods as a solid guy. I think Thielen will be okay this year. I don't think he's going to be outstanding. Allen Robinson is, I think, going to be phenomenal. Where we're going right here, though, is we're going to come back over here to DJ Moore, because this is another guy. If I'm looking at the board here, I would probably personally drag Devontae Parker up into this range as well, and probably DJ Chark I would bring up in this area. So those are the three guys right here that I would truly consider at wide receiver here. I'm not flip-flopping back and forth. I just don't like the running backs that are sitting here as much as I like the wide receivers. I think that I can sit and wait on these guys. If I jump over to tight end, there's absolutely nobody I'm grabbing in the fourth round at tight end. And at QB, the only guy I would begin to consider right here would be Dak Prescott. I might consider Kyler Murray right now, but not really. Where we're going is DJ Moore. He's going to have a phenomenal year. Don't be afraid of Matt Rule. DJ Moore is falling down the board because people don't know what to anticipate with Matt Rule. And we discussed this in one of our other episodes. I don't recall exactly which one, but we talked about the fact that Matt Rule at Baylor, 90% of the plays that were run there on offense were 3 wide or 4 wide all the time. So those are great opportunities to feature a wide receiver. Now, yeah, he's stepping into an offense that has Christian McCaffrey. It's going to be a little bit different. And if he's using his players' skills the best that he can, then he's going to utilize Christian McCaffrey in the passing game, right? But that's not any reason to think that the number one wide receiver on that team is going to do anything less than he did last year, which was finish as wide receiver 11. Come on, if he can have a healthy QB who can throw the ball very accurately, which Teddy Bridgewater can and does, then he's going to have a phenomenal year. Don't be afraid of that. All right, after DJ Moore, we lost James Conner, Tyler Lockett, Le'Veon Bell, Jonathan Taylor, Cortland Sutton, Devontae Parker, Keenan Allen, Diggs, Hilton, Deebo Samuel in the 5th round with a broken foot and surgery. Terry McLaurin, DJ Chark. Oh, if DJ Chark had fallen to us right there, that's exactly where we would go, guys. I'm not a huge fan of AJ Green this year. I don't really know exactly what to expect out of him. That's who they're putting here for us. I do like Gallup a lot. I think that offense is going to be pretty solid as far as the passing game. I like Jones here. You know that about me. But I've already got Galladay, so I'm not going to reach for Jones there. And as far as running backs go, it's a good question, I think, as to whether or not I would be willing to take David Johnson, who I'm fairly sure is going to get 1st and 2nd down. I think that 50% of the time, maybe a little bit more, he's going to get 3rd down. I'm not entirely sure because Duke Johnson is a phenomenal receiving running back. He's just not an every down back. So I think where we're going to go is we're going to move over here to Michael Gallup is where we're going to go. All right. Let's see here. Okay, so Montgomery, Green, Ertz, David Johnson, Singletary, DeAndre Swift. Look, Devin Singletary going in the 5th round is an astronomical price. I know it's the back of the 5th round, right? But that's a terrible price for Devin Singletary. He's not going to get the lion's share of carries this year. He's just not. They've already made clear that Zach Moss is coming in and he's going to handle 1st and 2nd down. He's going to get a lot of the goal line carries. He's coming in and stepping right into Frank Gore's vacated role. Even if he steps in at 75%, there's just not enough to justify Devin Singletary as a 5th round pick. And look, that's the first running back off the board for that guy. And look at what that roster looks like right now. He's got a flyer on DeAndre Swift, who may get half a year worth of work, and Devin Singletary, who's now splitting carries. We know this. And it's entirely possible by the end of the year that Zach Moss is the guy running the show over there. So this is why you draft running backs early. You're left picking options that are just not great for you. All right, following DeAndre Swift, we've got Ingram, Murray, Waller, and Boyd. All right, so where we are sitting right now is Landry is a top-tier guy who's sitting there available for us, as well as Marquise Brown, Marvin Jones. I'd like to get back onto running backs here if I can. Mostert's a good opportunity. Kareem Hunt's a really great opportunity. If you go and check out my bust predictions as far as running backs go, I'm not a huge fan of Ezekiel Elliott nor Nick Chubb in that I think both of them finish outside of at least the top 5, possibly outside of RB1 territory. And one of the reasons I do not like Chubb is because of Kareem Hunt's ability to steal pretty much everything. And if you've heard the news recently on Raheem Mostert, he is asking for a trade. I don't think that ends up being the case or ends up happening. I think it's a lot of noise is what it is. But we're going to go right here to Kareem Hunt. He's our running back 3. I like to slot a running back into the flex spot, so that's a great flex type of play for me, in my opinion. All right, following that, Raheem Mostert went off the board. Dak Prescott, Marquise Brown, Russell Wilson, Hunter Henry, Sony Michel, Evan Ingram, Jarvis Landry, Julian Edelman, Brandon Cooks, Sterling Shepard, and Deshaun Watson off the board. There's a little mini run, it looks like, on tight ends, starting with Zach Ertz, and another one on the QBs, starting with Kyler Murray. So Kyler, Dak, Russell Wilson, and Deshaun Watson are all off the board in the last round and a half here. And where we're sitting right now, our roster's looking pretty solid. We've got 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers. We're sitting in the 7th round. We've got Kamara, Gurley, and Hunt. We've got Galladay, DJ Moore, and Michael Gallup. 7th round is where we can really start considering tight end and QB, in my opinion. Tight end right now, I think we can sit on for a little while. I'm not a huge fan of Higbee. I question what he's going to end up being able to accomplish in that offense this year. I don't know that they're going to come out in 12 package all the time like they did in the second half last year. And I'll tell you, if you go look at his stats every year, his targeting and route run and all that sort of stuff has been consistent. And then he started actually catching passes. I think that this is a bit of variance that he had last year. I'm starting to really fall further away from Higbee. I like Hurst down the board there, and I like Fant, Gesicki, a few other guys down there. So we're not there yet. Let's check out the QB list. I think that we should sit a little longer. The next guys that I'm looking at are Ryan, Wentz, maybe Breeze, Stafford. But I'm not going to reach right now for Josh Allen in the 7th. As far as running backs go, Geis is okay. Jordan Howard might get a good amount of work here. Wide receivers, I think we could sit on wide receivers. So where we're going to go right here is actually down here. We're going to slide down the board a bit, not reach for a rookie running back in the first round who's splitting carries named Cam Akers. And instead, we're going to go with Ronald Jones, who some people are afraid that Keshawn Vaughn's going to steal a lot of his mojo. But I like Rojo's mojo, guys. I think he's going to be fine. There you go. Hashtag Rojo's mojo. All right, Tom Brady, Will Fuller, Marlon Mack, Mike Gesicki, J.K. Dobbins, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan. Hey, there's the two QBs I was talking about, right? Darius Geis, Mecole Hardman, and Cam Akers, all off the board. Okay, so again, we're looking back to see what we've got at tight end. Kind of surprised to see Gesicki get reached for there. QB. We could grab Drew Brees right now if we want. It's not a terrible snag in the 8th round. I think that might be where we end up. Let's look at the running backs. You've got Jordan Howard, who's worth a consideration here. You've got Damian Williams. We're definitely not going Keyshawn Vaughn. Yeah. I mean, there's really not a ton here that I'm interested at the moment in the 8th round. If I didn't already have Kenny Golladay, this would be a great chance to pick up Marvin Jones. John Brown's okay, but now he's got Stephon Diggs in front of him a little bit. Kirk and Slayton are great opportunities, as well as Deontay Johnson. I think that one of those three will fall to me at my next pick. I'm betting. If not, Emmanuel Sanders is sitting there. So I think where we're going to go here actually is that I would like to grab Drew Brees here in the 8th round. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and let's see what happens at wide receiver here. And let's also see what happens at tight end. Tight end might be something we should consider. There's a little mini run here on running backs, guys. But we're sitting pretty solid on running back right now. We've got 4 deep, and 3 of them are RB1. Kareem Hunt's an RB1A, 1B situation, so that's pretty solid. We've built a solid running back room, I think, there. We've got coming off the board Phillip Lindsay, Deontay Johnson. I would like to have seen him fall. That would have been nice. Kerryon Johnson, Jordan Howard, John Brown, Marvin Jones, Sean Vaughn, Matt Breida, Damian Williams, Tevin Coleman, Darrell Henderson, and Zach Moss. All right, we are off of QB for the rest of the show here, guys, because we're only going to take one. We can stream more if we need that to happen. All right, we're still looking at tight end, and we're still waiting on tight end. There's too much value further down the board. So we're going to jump back over here and look at wide receiver. And like I said, I thought that at least one of these guys between Deontay Johnson, Christian Kirk, and Darius Slayton was going to fall to me. And if not, I'd be happy taking Emmanuel Sanders here. I think what we're going to go for is Christian Kirk. Let's check out the running back situation, see what's available to us there. There's a few guys down the board here who I'd like to target a little later. One of those would be Boston Scott, obviously, because I think that he's likely to drag in roughly 30% of the opportunity in Philadelphia this year. And some of that goal line work is going to go his way, I think, too. Look, Miles Sanders is phenomenal. He's going to be great this year. Some people have him like he's the second coming of Christian McCaffrey. Look, don't do that. Don't believe that hype. Don't overpay for him. He's going to be great, but he is competing with somebody on his team who has performed and has proven himself valuable before. Down the stretch of last year, look at the last 4 or so games, and you'll see that Boston Scott was performing really solidly. We're going to go ahead and grab Christian Kirk, like I mentioned that we were going to do before. I'm passing on Mike Williams. Some people might like Mike Williams. I don't like that situation. Not sure what's going on with the QBs out there, and I'm also just not I'm a huge fan of the Chargers offense. All right, coming off the board after Christian Kirk, we've lost Deshaun Jackson, Aaron Rodgers in the 8th round. I'm not sure what number QB off the board he is, but that looks appropriately late. Mike Williams, James White, Latavius Murray, Alexander Madison, Anthony Miller, Tony Pollard, Emmanuel Sanders, Jerry Jeudy. Would have been nice to see Sanders fall a little bit more there and get to us. Right now, we're sitting on 4 wide receivers, 4 running backs, a QB. In the 10th round here would be a great opportunity to grab a tight end potentially. And look, there's still a lot of value here. We can still fade on tight end. We've got Hayden Hurst, Noah Fant, Jonnu Smith, TJ Hawkinson, Dallas Goedert, Jack Doyle, Blake Jarwin. Those guys are all phenomenal. Don't buy into any Herndon hype. It's starting up again, guys. Don't buy it. It's Adam Gase. It's a guy who's been hurt his entire career except for like 2 games or something, and he's just never been able to stay on the field. When he has been on the field, he's been pretty electric, but don't bet on it. Don't bet on it anymore, okay? We could grab Darius Slayton here. The Giants are going to pass a lot, and they're going to be effective because there's going to be a lot of games with 8 men in the box. Slayton, it's hard to say he's anything other than the wide receiver 1 on that team, in my opinion. Right now, if I'm looking at building depth out, I would like to grab a running back here. I'd like to also grab that wide receiver. Like I said, we're still sitting on tight end because it's got too much value down the board. So we've got, where I feel weaker is probably at wide receiver. I like to build solid depth early in the running back room, and then get a lot of great upside and depth and other things like that in the wide receiver department, because wide receivers can be a bit hit and miss. It's a little hard to predict them a ton. Look at that. It gave us a value pick there, and so that's a really good pickup to grab Darius Slayton. Falling off the board after him is Crowder, followed by Carlos Hyde, CeeDee Lamb, Golden Tate, Tariq Cohen, Robbie Anderson, Duke Johnson, Justin Jefferson, Jack Doyle, Rob Gronkowski, Curtis Samuel, Chase Edmonds. All right, so it looks like tight ends are starting back up here a little bit. Jack Doyle is a bit of a reach there, I think, in the 11th round. I think that he should be available further down the board there, guys. He's not somebody that anybody should be reaching in the 11th round for. We are looking at running backs that are pretty solid in value now, I think, at the price that we are paying in the 12th round here. I do like Boston Scott as a good opportunity. Justin Jackson is going to be fighting for some carries out in the Chargers. Nyheim Hines is somebody I'm passing on. A.J. Dillon's a pretty solid pickup, but you got to remember that's a running back who's a rookie, who's going to be in an offense that already has 2 pretty well-versed running backs. So to the extent that he's going to get a lot of work, I would bet that it's only going to come on by mid-season, that he's really a high value. So other guys who are going to be performing year-round, those are the guys I'm focusing on there. All right, tight end, let's check out that list. Hayden Hurst is sitting there. It looks like everybody's passing on Higbee, but, I mean, come on. Higbee sitting at this point, we're sitting on pick 127. That'd be a pretty good value, but like I said, I'm just not a fan. Not a fan. Let's wait on Hurst or somebody else like that, and instead let's jump back here and grab Boston Scott. I think that's the guy to grab here. He's an RB2. He's a solid RB2 on his team. I think that he's going to have games where he's going to potentially turn in flex value or a little bit better for you, and he's not necessarily an everyday type of lineup guy, right, for fantasy purposes. What we're looking for is for him to have right opportunities, for him to start beating out Miles Sanders if Sanders isn't performing, or if Sanders gets hurt. Boston Scott steps right into probably an everyday RB2 for you. So that's a really great snag. And then look, okay, so we just lost out on Hayden Hurst. That's okay. We'll just fade tight end another round or so. And then followed by Alshon Jeffrey, Antonio Gibson. Check out Gibson, guys. He's being listed here as a running back, but all of his stats and a lot of other areas, he's a wide receiver. Brashad Perryman, A.J. Dillon off the board, Justin Jackson, Jamal Williams, Royce Freeman, Naeem Hines. All right, let's see what we're sitting with. We've got, looks like 5 running backs, and we've got 5 wide receivers, if I'm counting correctly. At this point, I don't feel uncomfortable to reach for a tight end to make sure I get a guy I'm happy with. But I'll tell you, I don't know if there's anybody here I want to reach for. Jared Cook, he's good for about 40 catches. That's really about it. Austin Hooper, you're betting on him having a year that he had with the team that threw the most passes in the NFL. He's just not going to do that this year. And there's just too many people. There's too many people in that offense who are looking for work. OBJ, if he has a year again, Hooper's work is going to dry up a little bit, right? Fant is a guy I'd consider here. I think I might consider Fant. If we jump over here to wide receiver, running back, I'm only going to grab one more of each of those, probably get a balance in my backfield and on the wideouts here. I like Darrynton Evans, as you guys know. I'd also like Damian Harris. But these are guys that I feel a little bit more like they're more like reaches here. I think the appropriate pick, the best pick, there's a few wide receivers down the board here. The best pick for us here is to go ahead and reach down here and grab Noah Fant. I think he's the guy to have this year. Look, he is like a smaller, or he's like mini George Kittle, right? It's entirely possible that he blows up. Following Noah Fant, we lost Reichwell Armstead, Adrian Peterson, Justice Hill, Malcolm Brown, Darrynton Evans off the board. Josh Allen finally goes in the 12th round. I've seen him go in the 6th and 7th round, guys. That's not where he should be going. 12th round is where I'm comfortable with him. I think that he should go at the highest 10th round. Anthony McFarland, Joshua Kelly, Preston Williams, Sammy Watkins, Devontae Freeman, Jalen Reagor. Just want to point out that Sammy Watkins is still the wide receiver 2 in Kansas City until further notice, guys. Yeah, he was really, really expendable last year. But there's no reason to think that he couldn't come back. He's a really fast guy. That offense loves really fast guys. All right, we're done with tight ends. We are done with QBs. And right now, as far as running backs, I like a couple there. I also like a couple of the wide receivers. Let's see. We lost to Darrynton Evans. He's a guy I would have liked to have grabbed. I like Benny Snell, especially when James Conner goes down. As much as that sucks to say, it's true. He has never played a full season. And so there's no reason to, think that Benny Snell wouldn't get some work this year. So he's good for a few spot starts there. But what I'm going to take instead is somebody who I think could end up snagging a lot more than just a little bit of piecemeal work, fill-in work, and that's Damian Harris. I think that he is going to have a good year. I could go over to the wide receiver and grab N'Keal Harry, Alan Lazard, but there's a lot of value there that I still feel fine, grabbing and waiting on next round. However, what I feel really good about right now is grabbing Damian Harris. He is behind Sony Michel, and I think Burkhead's done for. So I think Harris is going to end up getting at least goal line work. He might get a little bit more, and he might displace a lot of Sony Michel's work. He can't stay healthy all that well either. There's a lot of chances there for different stuff. All right, off the board is Ito Smith, Jalen Samuels, Gus Edwards, Henry Ruggs, Cam Newton, Corey Davis, Daniel Jones, Baker Mayfield, Kirk Cousins, and then Frank Gore. Wow. Frank Gore in the 14th round. He's going to eat up so many carries from Le'Veon Bell. It's just so sad to see Bell get further pushed down. They drafted, I think it was Samaje Perine's cousin, and they also grabbed Frank Gore. It is everything that Adam Gase has said from the day he had Le'Veon Bell on that team. He wasn't interested. I don't know why. I don't know what his personal vendetta is there. As far as what we're going to finish up with, there's a lot of value. Look, I mean, there's Larry Fitzgerald down the board. We already have, I think, Christian Kirk on our team, so probably not going to draft a guy who's competing with them. D.D. Westbrook, for the time being, is wide receiver 2. I think that a lot of people are sleeping this year on Randall Cobb a little bit, guys. I think that he's going to have a pretty solid year. Houston's going to pass a lot. They lost DeAndre Hopkins. That's a lot of vacated targets. I'm not entirely certain that Brandon Cooks is going to pick up all those vacated targets. Instead, what I think is going to happen is that they're going to find out that Randall Cobb is really great in short passing scenarios and across the middle of the field. These are not passes that Brandon Cooks is willing to go and compete for, guys, and they're going to figure that out really quickly. And Deshaun Watson is a very, very smart quarterback, and he's going to figure out quickly who is worth taking and spending the time with and throwing to. All right, we're just going to go ahead and grab Alan Lazard. We're going to call it a day there. James Washington is somebody I'm interested in. To the extent that Juju maybe gets sidelined a little bit by the team, because it seems they're kind of done with him, that they're just going to use him up and let him walk. But instead, we're just going to go with Alan Lazard. He's somebody who right now is the wide receiver 2 in an offense that wants to keep him on the field because he's a great blocker. All right, guys, it's giving us a B here. That's not too bad. I think that there are a few picks if we run down our board here. It's got Drew Brees at QB, Alvin Kamara. So we got that stack going for us right there, especially because one of them is a pass catching running back. That's a phenomenal stack to have. Another stack that we could have done was we could have passed on Drew Brees and waited a few rounds and gone after Stafford. He went in the 14th round right after Alan Lazard was picked by us. So we would have been able to take him right then and there with our last pick of this draft, our last meaningful pick, right? If we were doing defense and kicker, this is the last meaningful round. And so we would have been able to get an extremely valuable stack there. If you believe in Golladay, then you have to believe in Stafford. You just simply have to, guys, because there's, that offense is going to run through his arm this year. It really is. And it does every year. All right, then we also have Todd Gurley as our running back 2. And sitting in our flex spot, we got Kareem Hunt. Like I mentioned, I think that's a great flex player. That's phenomenal. I don't know what they've got him ranked right now as far as a flex position goes, but I think he's pretty good. Then for wide receiver, we've got Golladay, DJ Moore, and then Michael Gallup, and that's a pretty phenomenal group. We've got one guy who is clearly a wide receiver 2, but this could become an offense and situation that is like Tampa Bay or Atlanta or even kind of like Detroit, where the wide receiver 2 still shows up as a potential wide receiver 1 most weeks, and that the worst he's going to do for you is a wide receiver 3 week. One of the nice things about Gallup is that he has only continued to improve, and he's become more and more consistent. And I think eventually he is going to surpass Amari Cooper for that team. Amari Cooper is a great talent. He's an amazing player. He's just not consistent, whereas Michael Gallup is going to bring consistency to you week in and week out. So if you're looking for a consistent guy in your wide receiver 2 or 3 spot, he's not a bad guy to grab. But the way we built this team, we managed to get 2 guys who I think are phenomenal wide receiver 1 talents, and they have the potential to both finish inside of the top 12 this year. And that is Golladay and DJ Moore. I wouldn't be surprised to see Michael Gallup finish at the top of the wide receiver 2 chart, guys. As far as tight end, that's probably where they're hitting us a little bit here. We went and got Noah Fant. We had to wait a little bit. The one guy that I would have liked to have grabbed was Hayden Hurst. The noise is getting a little bit louder on Hayden Hurst every day, so the odds of getting him and paying a price for him that I would love is getting less and less. We already talked a little bit about Kareem Hunt, and then as far as our bench, we've got Ronald Jones, Christian Kirk, Darius Slayton, Boston Scott, Damian Harris, and Alan Lazard. I feel a little bit weaker on this roster at the running back spot. I do like having Ronald Jones as my first bench player. I think that's a phenomenal spot to have somebody like him. And in fact, I would probably put him into my flex right now ahead of Kareem Hunt, just because I know he's getting running back 1 carries, whereas Kareem Hunt is probably getting running back 2 mostly starting out. We'll see. We'll see. We're not going to get a full slate of preseason games, so we're not going to see everything that's happening. That's unfortunate. All right, guys, that's it for me on this draft. We're going to go ahead and finish up here. I hope that you guys have stuck around with us this whole week. It's been pretty fun. It's been a little bit more lax here at the Upside, and we're going to get back to the grind starting early next week. And we're going to come at you with some, let me see here. What one are we doing? We're going to be talking about, I think, our pick or pass players, right? We're going to start a this or that, or which guy kind of test the whole week. We're going to see what we're up to. We're going to see who likes who more than other guys. We're going to be pitting guys who are being drafted near one another. In drafts, we're going to be pitting them against one another. We're going to talk about the merits of picking one over the other. It's going to come fast, it's going to come quick, and hopefully it's fun. All right, guys, that's it for us. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button while you're here. Make sure you click that bell so you get notified every time that we upload the best fantasy football podcast on the internet. And thanks for being a fan of The Upside. We will see you next time. Bye.